Hello, this is Dread from Last Epic Builds. In today's video topic, we're going to be talking about Tunk's Hail of Arrows Cold Marksman. This is currently rank 1 on the softcore ladder for Marksman, Marksmans in particular. This is very competitive with the current multi-shot Marksmans as well. I believe these are about the same in power-ish. So a few patches ago, I have played a few Hail of Arrows builds, and they suffered a gigantic nerf with the nerfs to shift, as there were nodes inside shift that gives your next attack a bunch of more damage, and then you'd utilize this with the insane duration that Hail of Arrows gives you to make a gigantic Hail of Arrows, doing a gigantic amount of DPS. Well, after the shift nerf, I had no clue how to make it work again, but thankfully, Tunk has been working on it for the past few patches now, and has finally found a way to make Hail of Arrows work again, and it works pretty damn well. So the idea is, and this is a very mechanically intensive build, so if you're not into mechanically intensive builds, then this is not the build for you. So the idea is you utilize the nodes inside Dark Quiver that consume shadows to allow you to deal about 200% more damage. Then you also utilize the node inside the Rogue base tree that gives you 80% more damage, adding 40 flat mana to your skills. But since the way he is doing the Hail of Arrows, the mana cost does not matter, as he pretty much has a 12-second duration on Hail of Arrows. He also runs a little bit of mana regen, about 14 mana regen to sustain his mana. He doesn't have to use a actual mana source to sustain his mana. So if you do not like utilizing Flurry or Cinder Strike or whatever else, if you do not like utilizing that for mana gain, then this is also the build for you, because this allows you to play the game without having to actually use a mana generator, as long as you are smart with your Hail of Arrow shots. Now, the issue is this build can be easily messed up. This is very, like I said, very mechanically intense build, and you can easily mess up the pacing because there's a very specific way you have to set everything up. So the idea is you shoot down your smoke bomb, which will create your shadows. Then you shoot down your black quiver, and then you got to pick up an arrow, then shift, then attack, and that will result in your most amount of DPS. And he is like I said, you can very well easily push arena with this. Like I said, it's just a little mechanically intensive, but once you get the mechanics down, it gets a little bit easier. You can easily do all of the end game content, do monolith bosses like it's nothing. He does have a lot of investment in the build, but I believe you could easily start this up because all of your damage doesn't come from your gear necessarily, other than the flat damage you need. It all comes from the skill interactions between Black Quiver and Hail of Arrows. Now, other notes about this build, Tunk has provided me with a list of tips and tricks for the build overall. I'm not going to go over them in the video, but I am going to put his tips and tricks inside the description so that you guys can get the info, and it'll also be in the forum post as well. Now, to get this build started, he is utilizing a Reign of Winter with max rolls. Why is he using a Reign of Winter? Well, Reign of Winter, so Hail of Arrows does not crit, so you cannot make it crit, so you have to scale the damage other ways. And in this case, he has to scale the base damage very high to get a large amount of damage, because if you have no base damage with this kind of build, you do no damage. Now, how he does this is he runs a Reign of Winter with the 60 bow flat and the 60 physical, and it allows him to pretty much have like a large amount of base to work on. And since the bow doesn't have any base crit, it doesn't matter because of the fact that his bow, because of the fact that he's not critting. And he also can utilize now the elemental arrows as well, the elemental quiver nodes, which gives him a lot of flat as well, which is all converted pretty much, I believe, to cold damage thanks to the node inside Hail of Arrows. It converts it to cold, and that's pretty much how he's scaling damage with the base. And like I said, the rest of his gear is just pure survivability. This is the tankiest marksman build you can make pretty much. If you want to play a very tanky bow build, this is the build for you. And it'll allow you to face tank bosses. I'll have footage here where he's just face tanking everything. This build is done in powered monoliths. This build is done in powered bosses. This build has gotten to about 390 in arena. Tunk did state that he could have pushed monolith a little bit, the arena a little bit harder, but he was trying not to abuse Decoy, as if you did not know, Decoy is a very strong skill right now, and it pretty much gives you free waves, as Decoy allows you to get out of very sticky situations. So he was trying not to abuse it as much, but he still managed to land rank 1 marksman with it. Now, with that being said, let's get into the skills, shall we? All right, here we are in the skill planner here. The whole planner will be in the description as well if you want to see his full build overall. So for Hail of Arrows here, he runs 5 nodes into volley for the increased area, because you want as much area as possible due to the fact that you want to be able to put your Hail of Arrows down and cover as much area as possible so that you can kind of kite between the Hail of Arrows and make enemies go into it. It's just a bigger trap overall, right? Then he takes 4 points into Steady for increased duration. You want as much increased duration as possible wherever you can get it. 5 points into Nowhere to Hide. This is a free 100% more damage bonus because he is at, I believe, 12-second duration. So this is up for more than half the duration of the Hail of Arrows. So it'll ramp up every second over 5 seconds. Then this node is very important for the build. This node makes the build possible. Without this node, this build would probably not be very good because of the fact that you need a large amount of duration to achieve, to make it so that it doesn't feel clunky to use all that mana, because he is using a lot of mana and a lot of setup to set this up. So you do not want it to end after like 6 seconds. You want it to last a very long time, and that's what this does. It's a very long time. And of course, he takes 2 points into Slow Chance, which is then immediately converted to Chill Chance. Absolutely amazing for the build because it gives you a way of chilling enemies without having to hit them, making it a lot harder for you to get hit by them. Now this converts all of your damage into cold, all of it. Like it adds all your added bow damage and all your added the base physical. It all becomes cold damage. So you can add as much lightning flat, fire flat, physical flat as you want, and it will all be converted to cold damage, which is very strong because on the Reign of Winter bow itself, it has about like 11% cold penetration. He cannot use a cold penetration amulet due to the fact that he's running Orion's Eye, so this allows him to convert everything to cold, which is an elemental damage over time source, if you did not know, because since when you're converting this to damage over time and it's elemental, it'll profit from all of those elemental damage over time prefixes, which is a very sexy prefix. Now, for the last 4 points, he takes 4 points into Focus for Hail of Arrows to deal more damage. Now, if you do not have the +2 helmet, what I would suggest doing is taking 2 points out of Nowhere to Hide, and then obviously once you get the +2 helmet, go 2 points into Nowhere to Hide until then. But this will work just with a level 20 skill tree as well. His damage is actually kind of overkill at wave 400, as you can see in the clips. Now for Dark Quiver, this is the second part. This is very, 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 very important for this build. Now, we take 4 points into Heavy Arrows. This adds flat to your Hail of Arrows for your next bow attack after you pick up an arrow. 4 points into Archer's Focus. It adds more mana, but it gives you 48% more damage, which is multiplicative with other modifiers. You can tell this is a theme with this build. Then 1 point Travel into Resolve. Picking up Dark Arrows will also allow you to obviously get mana back as well. And then 5 points into Umbral Resolution. This is the node that makes this entire build function. So he is right now using Shift and Smoke Bomb to create shadows. So as long as he has at least 3 shadows, he will be dealing 175% more damage with Hail of Arrows. And that allows him to scale the damage to the same amount of damage levels that maybe like a multi-shot build would be, or something else like that. You definitely want this node. This is how the build works. Of course, you make the shadows, then you consume them, and then for 12 seconds, your next bow attack has like a lot of more damage. Now, he takes 1 point travel into mending, 2 points into nightfall. So this gives him dust shrouds, or glancing blow, and dodge rating. So the idea is while you're waiting for your hail of arrows to end and you're kind of like kiting monsters, you want to be picking up black arrows, dark arrows and stuff, as it will give you more stacks of dust shrouds and stuff. Then of course 3 points into large quiver. So this makes it so that 3 arrows instantly drop on the ground, so that you don't have to worry about so you don't have to worry about, like, it'll make dark quiver last longer. Now, one thing I would think about, I did see this node, Nature's Focus. I didn't ask him why he didn't grab this node, but I'm assuming it's because he has plenty of damage. Now for the next skill, we have Shift. So this was the skill that got nerfed. Before, you didn't have to run Dark Quiver to get all your more damage, you just ran Shift. And why is that? Well, these nodes here, the increased damage here with Velocity, the increased damage here with Head Trauma, then the increased damage here with Brasukla's Hesitation, these were all utilized, these were all more damage multipliers. They're all more damage multipliers. Now, the devs thought that that was too overpowered, which it kind of was, especially after you see the clips of his video with how much damage he's doing, right? Well, this used to be more damage, and it's not. So that killed all of the on-hit variants. So what you would do with Hail of Arrows is you'd run this node, Sky Strike, and then instead of doing a duration build, you would do an on-hit build. But this build has been effectively killed thanks to the nerfing of Shift, because that was all your more damage. Now, this version, though, utilizes it still because it gives you a large chunk of increased damage. That's what makes it so strong. And of course, we take 3 points into momentum for movement speed as you're moving around, 1 point into lasting presence for the extra shadow, 3 points travel into swift recovery, then 1 point into the invulnerability so that he does not get damaged while shifting. Now for Smoke Bomb, this is the last piece of the puzzle. So the main important thing here is he takes 5 points into duration, so the Smoke Bomb lasts longer, 1 point travel into Smoke Blades, and then 4 points into Umbral Assault. Makes it so every second a shadow is spawned. Shadows last like 4 seconds. So after 3 to 4 seconds, you'll have all your shadows up, and then you'll grab a dark arrow, and then you'll hail of arrows. It'll consume all these shadows, and then you'll be doing damage. So this is how you set it up with obviously with the shadows. This is how you get them. Then 1 point travel into Generosity, 1 point travel into Enablement, then 1 point travel into Moonlight Bomb for the guaranteed dodge on Silver Shroud. Then we take 1 point into Thick Smoke to slow enemies. As you already have Chill from Hail of Arrows, this allows you to slow enemies, because since you're not hitting enemies, you cannot actually slow them with like a slow on hit modifier. So this is why he's running the slow here instead. Then 1 point into Shrouded in Darkness. This makes it so when he's inside the Smoke Bomb, he gets a shit ton of shrouds, and then this will double the frequency, so he gets twice as many. Then 1 point into Impending Gloom, probably just because he didn't have anything else to put points into. Now, Decoy, this is your standard Decoy tree. This is like the duration version, because you want Decoy to have as much duration as possible. You don't care about the cooldown, because the longer Decoy is up, the longer it will taunt enemies inside your AoE. Like I said in the video, he was trying not to abuse Decoy, as it is very easily abusable with this build. So, like I said, if you want to abuse it, go right ahead, but he was trying not to. And that's pretty much it. I'm not going to go over Decoy because it's like such a universal skill setup that, you know, it's obvious. Like, you always take this, you always take this, you always take this. It's just you know, simple things with Decoy. And that's pretty much it for this. Now we're going to go over the masteries and skills. So for the skill tree here, we take 2 points into Guile for flat dodge, travel into Evasion for damage taken while moving, less damage taken, increased dodge. So while you're moving around waiting for Hail of Arrows to end, you're moving around, so you want to take the less damage. 5 points into agility, so that the more movement speed you have, the more increased damage you have, and you get haste based on hit chance. I don't believe there's a way to hit other than Decoy, so I'm assuming he's using it for the increased damage. 8 points into steady hand for flat dexterity and health. You want to stack as much health as possible with this build. Then 5 points into dodge and parry because you want the flat dodge, and you also want the glancing blow chance to make yourself tankier because you're not really focused on dealing damage with the tree because you're already doing so much damage, it doesn't matter, so you want to get as much tankiness as possible. 1 point travel into sapping strikes, and then 8 points into coated blades. This gives you another 80% more damage multiplier on top of everything else that you have. This brings it to a whole nother level. Absolutely insane for the build. 8 points into Cloak Shadows for the glancing blow chance and the dex. Then for the treat, we take 4 points into dexterity here, 1 point travel into Assassin's Quiver, 1 point travel into Woundmaker, 4 points into critical strike avoidance. He's probably capping his critical strike avoidance with this. 1 point travel into concentration, 8 points into mediation as it's a lot of flat dodge for free on the tree. 8 points into reflection for increased movement speed and dodge while you're not getting hit recently, so it's very strong for that. 8 points into elemental arrows. This allows you to consume 3 of these at once, which will give you like 48 fire damage and 48 lightning damage with your elemental bow attack every single time you attack. Very strong, gives you a lot of flat to scale your hail of arrows with. 3 points into siege quiver because you want to have 6 at all times so that you're not always out of elemental arrows. 1 point travel into storm fletcher, 2 points into elemental barrage. This will just give you additional arrows consumed. So instead of consuming 1 arrow, you consume 3, which allows you to do a lot more damage with it. Now 1 point travel into arrow storm, then 1 point into covering fire. So every like 10 seconds, you get a free silver shroud when you attack. Very strong. 6 points into Sniper's Gambit, so you get 30 flat from here. He said for monolith farming this is okay, but for arena you could probably take this out and put it somewhere else so that you don't take the increased damage from nearby enemies. 10 points into ethereal arrows. Hail of Arrows has a large mana cost, is giving you a lot of increased damage for free. Then 2 points into Master Archer for increased Hail of Arrows area. That's pretty much it for the Marksman and all the trees. And also, he's also running Thief's Quiver because this bow damage leeches health is not hit based. It is just based on bow damage. So the Hail of Arrows damage is being leeched even though it's a damage over time, which gives him like a lot of sustain. He can go from 0 to 100 very easily. Also gives him a lot of flat health to work with as well. That's pretty much it for the passives here. Now on to the gearing here for idols. This is his perfect best in slot idol. You want to increase Hail of Arrows duration as much as you can get as possible. Then, of course, you want damage while wielding a bow. This just gives more increased damage, but increased Hail of Arrows duration is the main thing you're looking for. This is just the perfect one you want, right? Then for this idol, he just has extra black arrows and just dodge. It's just whatever fit here. You can put wherever here. This is just the best one if you can manage it. Then for his weapon, he is running a Rain of Winter. Why is he running Rain of Winter? Well, he's not utilizing the icicle like my other Rain of Winter build. He's just utilizing the bow cold damage and the bow physical damage because he doesn't have to crit. So he doesn't need to run a base crit item, so he can just run this instead. And he also gets the 9% cold pen, which is just 10% more damage overall. Then for the helmet, increase cooldown recovery speed, increase hail of duration, res, and health. For the amulet, he's running an Orion's Eye, which is giving him a lot of base mana and reducing the duration of stun. It's also increasing the duration of stun immunity, so you don't get chain stunned. Very strong, makes it so he doesn't have to run void res on the build either. Then for the chest, he's running dodge, the dodge base with health, +2 to hail of arrows, dodge, and increase health. Very strong, just a lot of health and dodge. For the quiver, he's running the res base to cap his res. Then he's also running as much bow flat as possible, then res and res. Then for the ring, he is running 3 mana regen affixes. He's running 1 mana regen affix here, 1 mana regen affix here, and 1 mana regen affix here. You just need about 14 mana regen. You don't need 15, you need at least 14 to make it feel comfortable for the build since you're consuming so much mana, because you have a 12-second duration with your hail of arrows. Then dexterity for flat dodge and for increased damage, health, and then fire res, for res. Then for the belt, you want dodge potion, elemental damage over time, health, and dodge. Then for the ring, health, res, elemental damage over time, and dexterity for the other ring. Then dexterity, mana gen, res, hybrid health, boots, movement speed, vitality, dodge, hybrid health. Then for the relic, dodge, dex, mana regen, fizz, res, and then life. And that's pretty much it for the overall gearing. Just tankiness, as much dodge as possible. The reason why he's not running much dodge flat is because he has dust shrouds, and dust shrouds will cap him on dodge very easily. If you watch him in game, he's running the dodge flat blessing from Rai. He's running lightning res, so he doesn't have to run lightning res on his gear. He's running, you can obviously just cut some life for now until you get this. Then he's running critical strike avoidance, this plus the critical strike avoidance on the tree, I believe almost caps him on critical strike avoidance. Then he has endurance threshold and endurance. So since the change of last patch where endurance scales with your max HP, if we go over to defenses, he is getting about 600 of his life as endurance threshold. Then of course, getting a lot of percentage endurance from his gloves and from the thing. So you get even tankier when you're about to die. Very, very, very strong. A lot of EHP and a lot of movement speed. And most of the time you shouldn't even be getting hit thanks to the way that hail of arrows works, and you just shoot it in the air and you just dodge projectiles for a while. But like I said, the planner will be in the description. The tips will be in the description. He also has a Patreon, I believe he also has a donate button on his website, which I should be showing right now. If you want to go donate to him for his wonderful website that he provides us with a lot of information, including an EHP calculator, a quest log, and also as well a gamble calculator as well, and a gear planner. Obviously, we have the last Epoch build planner, but now with him, he has a lot more than just build planner. With that being said, thank you all for watching and enjoy some gameplay.
Though you have golden wisdom or freedom. Taking over, ready or not, it's the moment. Better off stepping aside, burning with vengeance and solid with fight. Truth the right, one do before. We are unbeaten, no one can question it. Daredevil, you pick the wall. Did you think you could get away?